and nobody seemed to be interested. And yet, making speeches when the House is full, or asking supplementary questions at question time, and getting hears, doesn't have any impact at all. I can remember there was a really good debate on the teaching of history in schools that I contributed to, and Lord Parrick, Vicky Parrick, was sitting behind me. And at the end of this debate, he said, "Do you think we had any impact or effect on anybody as a result of all that we've just said?" and I said, well, I often wonder that. I mean, the theory is that those who govern us will read these debates and be informed, but I've never felt that that's the case. But I suppose the other thing is sitting on a select committee. I sat on the select committee on communications for 3 or 4 years. And some of the reports there about media convergence or the ownership of different areas of media and or on general election debates and so on and how they should be conducted. I mean, there were things there that you think where you had contributed to something that might have had some impact. But a great deal of the time you feel, well, there are real difficulties in feeling that you've had much impact for the amount of time that you've given to it. So it's one of the reasons I'm chairing this inquiry and giving less time to the Lords, because I think I might have a bit more impact doing something that might lead to some change, really. Because so much of it does not lead to change, as you well know.
We've got time for just one more question if anyone has a final question they'd like to put to the Bishop. Gentleman at the back.
You commented on the distinction between the city and the county, which is enshrined in the name of a few organisations and institutions. I wondered if you felt that there were any other distinctions that you've noticed that maybe has caused a celebration or regret between those two.
Between city and county?
Yeah.
I sometimes think that city and county have not... It's common enough to say that city and county don't always speak to each other, and that's, I think, to some degree that's true, although I think there's been quite a lot of coming together between city and county in my time here. What I do sense is that it isn't simply a matter related to local government, because with the substantial cuts in funding to local government, there are other organisations which represent county and city. And for example, it strikes me that our 2 universities are hugely significant drivers in the life of the city and of the county. When I think of the way in which the research park has developed, I think there are an increasing number of sources of both education, research, outreach to the wider world, which you can't just describe as either city or county anymore. And I think that's a change from previous periods of history, and that's one I welcome, because I think both city and county can be very proud of some of the dimensions of Norfolk's life, which I think we are a modest county. We don't always celebrate enough. I'm really struck by the fact that when you go to the UEA, you are seeing some of the finest academic institutions, which are well known in other parts of the world, better than they are in their host city. And why don't we celebrate what we've got a bit more? And I think that's something for the county and the city both to do. So I leave more hopeful about the relationship between county and city than I might have done on arrival, and where I felt there was still a tension between them. And it was interesting that in some of the discussions about my successor, somebody said, well, it needs to be somebody who will relate to a radical city in a conservative county. And I thought, I think you're speaking a bit from the past. You know, I'm not sure that those two words describe city and county quite as they might have done, you know, decades ago.
Very true. Sadly, we must leave it there, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all very much for coming this afternoon and being part of this wonderful event. Bishop, thank you once again for taking time amongst your enormous number of engagements between now and retirement. You must have an enormous number of afternoon teas. Scones and cream and cake to come. People say more tea liquors. So, I thank you very much indeed for spending your time this afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, the Bishop of Norwich, James.